We just have to go live. As you know, the show must go on. That's why we're here today to bless you. And can you hear me, ladies?
Yeah.
We can.
Yes. So, welcome to another week and another episode of Hanging Out with Temi. My name is Temi Ajayi. I've got Professor Mimi Watts and Miss Liz Greatness on the show. Hope your week is starting off well. Again, if you have not subscribed, subscribe. I don't know how come we have so many friends and you're not subscribing. Subscription is very important. So subscribe to our page, like us, follow us, and comment. Just over the weekend, I was with Professor Mimi, and one of our viewers said, I watch you when it comes. I never thought she knows
Yeah.
about this show or that she watches us in my entire life. She's been my friend for as long as she gets. And to say that she's watching us, and I thought I was going to introduce her to Prof. I'm going to say, meet my beautiful friend, Professor Mimi. And she, I knew you somewhere. I met you. Oh, it was on the show. Imagine. But you never commented.
So
But
there are people watching.
people are watching. I said, no, we get blessed. I watch it there. So I just want to say that to encourage us that even if people are not commenting, they are watching. And a lot of people came to me and said, you don't know what you're doing. You're helping us. But if we're helping you, if we're challenging you to do better and to be better, can you say something to those people that are doing it? Don't just say at the corner or come to me and talk to me. You need to say something to encourage us. Anyway, with or without your encouragement, the show is going on. And because I've got some extremely passionate ladies on the show. So we're doing the show. Anyway, enough of me and more of you. Miss Greatness, tell us, how have you been?
It has been well. It has been well. Thank you. A little bit slow on my side, but
Oh,
as you say, the show is to go on, and that means life must go on. Sometimes you have to take it slow as well because sometimes we also arrive at that yielding sign on the road, right? It doesn't mean you are not driving. It doesn't mean you are not on the main line. You're just yielding for the cars that are on the main line to cross over and for, the conditions to be more safer for both yourselves and the other road users to be conducive so that you can now also get in line and accelerate. So I am yielding.
I love that. You know what quickens my mind is when you're likening it to the driver. I think when we were learning how to drive, we were taught to assume that everyone on the road is crazy. You are the only same person on the road. So that means you focus, maintain your lane. Don't worry if the kids cross in front of you, find a place to just move away. Don't assume everybody is normal. Just make sure you are normal. Again, it just relates perfectly to the show. Let's just be focused and just keep going on our lane, and so you don't get discouraged. But Professor Mimi, oh, what a week! What a fortnight, I should say. Liz has no idea because Liz is cruising in her village wherever she is. Melbourne, Melbourne. Ah, Prof, just tell us one or two things this week. Huh.
My week has been huge. It's been great. It's been challenging at the same time.
I love it.
While one group celebrates me, some people struggle with that at the same time. So let's start with the wins, right?
Yeah.
We had a very successful conference in Egypt on Sunday where I was giving a keynote. So I couldn't go. So I did that virtually, and the feedback was very good. Then on Monday, we had a colloquium at the University of Melbourne, so in partnership with the University of Melbourne, and then later on a roundtable at Parliament House. And this colloquium was on health, engineering and management, and artificial intelligence. And as you know, I straddled through all those spaces, but not engineering management. That is where the University of Melbourne side came in, but it was really public health policy as well. And it was really good to have scientists from across the sphere with academics, but also industry partners. And of course, policy people in the room, but also later on, both sides of politics, as in bipartisan support at the Victorian Parliament House. So it was such a success. And then, so that creates some great outcomes have come from that. And for those who are listening, who attended, please send me your recommendations so that I could include on in the white paper. The report should be coming out not later than next week. So I want to keep it within the fortnight if possible. Then what? Then we had the big World Chamber Congress. That was huge.
Huge.
Over 1,000 people attended from over 100 countries. And I was one of the panelists in one of the sessions on leadership as well, which the feedback was absolutely insane, wonderful. And you see it on my LinkedIn page, and the shares and all the information, and people's comments and feedback. But what was even more striking for me, and Mama Temi, your contribution at the colloquium, thank you so much. I think your insights were absolutely great. The panel of experts across different areas, that was absolutely excellent. And I'll leave you to talk to that. But what I wanted to share was at the conference, at the World Chamber Congress, after my presentation, as we stood around talking and having a conversation in a group, somebody tapped me on my shoulder. And it was one of the representatives from Saudi Arabia. And she had a present for me. And I'm like, oh. And honestly, for me, I was just touched to begin with that, this woman had this present for me. But then later on, when and she said to me, you've made me make the decision that I'm going to do my PhD. And I said, in addition to everything, that really just topped it for me. Then another CEO came to me and said, I really just need to sit down and talk about this Masters of Leadership that I've been wanting to do in this space, and knowing that you teach in that area, etc. So we had a conversation. But when I got home and I opened this present, it was an exclusive collector's special edition perfume with the oil, including the travel bottles and the pipette.
Oh.
Yes, that tells you how special it was. So anyway, it was a big week. On the flip side, when you move up, there are all those people who are going to try to cut you down. So I've had a bit of that. And unfortunately, I'm dealing with that as well. So it's just too hard for some people to feel the three of us, for example, looking like this in the room. And that's the challenge, because, when you rise, but as Black women and as Black people, we're going to keep rising.
You're going to keep rising. You're going to keep rising. I don't know when people will stop to realize that people's glory is people's glory. People's destiny is people's destiny. And there's a journey and there's story. There's a lot of things that propel every individual to get to where they are. My thing in life is just be focused on your lane. If you can tap, I love what Ms. Greatness said the other day, that, when you talk about purpose and destiny, who don't want to reach their purpose, who don't want to achieve destiny? So if I see anything like, the gracious of Ms. Greatness, I want to tap into that.
Absolutely.
Like you want to tap into, if you got the strength of Professor Mimi, that's what energizes me as well to keep going, really. I I don't understand. But anyway, I'm here to say thank you, to do what you do in that colloquium. Miss Greatness and everyone that is watching, it's brilliant. And I've been preaching. If Professor Mimi calls you, she calls you. She's not calling you to fail. She's calling you to let you know that you fit in there. And if there's an opportunity for her to place you where she thinks you're going to flourish, she'll put you. When I saw the list of the people that she calls to the parliament, to this Melbourne University, they are the IT, they are the AI, they are the engineers, they're the policymakers and everything. Youth, I'm thinking, where am I coming from as an entrepreneur, as a business manager, business person,
Executive.
your executive? What if they're talking academia? And funny enough, there was a portfolio for me that I could actually contribute, and and feedback also was great, and I felt very comfortable. I did not feel inferior or anything there. I was able to contribute meaningfully, and so that's what I said. And these people that are there are the people from the left, people from the left, people from Labour and Liberal and the Parliament. They're all there, and they were listening to us. And you know what I reckon is that if people want to make policy, they need us, our contribution, our input, to be able to make this policy, because otherwise, who are you making it for? It's for us. So it makes a lot of sense. And I met a lot of high caliber, high flying people there with their, phone number in my hand. If I need it, I can use it. So I say thank you to that. But one thing I also want to say is, guys, there's a saying that if you want something done, get the people that are busy. Get extremely busy people. I called Prof on Saturday. I'm like, this is happening. Can you, please, please. She's there. She's like, I'm just coming from a massage, from my swimming. I'm trying to lay my hand. I'm like, please. She was there. We left, I don't know, dead night. And then on Sunday, we caught up. I'm like, this is happening. She said, okay. I need to give you some money. Thank you for the money. Don't tell anybody so they don't come and ask you for money. She's like, I need to give you some money. And I'm like, okay, after church, let's go. And I'm like, Tony really wants you to be there for her 30th. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to Ballarat. It's the Father's Day. But anyway, I feel the way she said it. I'll just be there for her. She hopping into her, private jet, flying over this little Porsche car, and she flew to celebrate. And we're just going from one thing to the other. And she still went to Ballarat to celebrate her husband. So I actually really want to say thank you. You will not be tired, you will not be weary, and nothing will bring you down. You can only go higher. I pray.
Thank you so much. I thought that I was going to close with the Watoto Kids, and then you took that over. I just thought it was
Kids.
Absolutely. That was Sunday, right? Yesterday was Watoto Kids at the church, just supporting them, listening to the story, seeing some that were young Watoto, because they tour Australia almost on a yearly but annual basis, right?
Yes.
And then now they're now the mentors, but the transformation over the years and the impact of that program. For me, that is what projects should do. You can actually see it. It is not just administrative support. You can see where the resources are going to.
Yes.
And then, of course, celebrating Tony. Tony gave me a public invitation in the car park. So when somebody stands in the middle of everybody and says, Auntie, you come, and at the top of her voice,
I know.
no matter how busy I was going to be, I had to show up. And so I've still got her stuff here, and it's like, yep, she's got a laguapa. But Tony, how does Tony invite you and then you don't show up?
What? Tony's got a laguapa? I can't believe it. Okay. But thank you so very much. It's been an amazing season. And can we use this opportunity to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers that are real fathers? We must put that there.
Not sperm donors.
Yeah, not sperm donors, like real daddies. We want to say thank you to you, and may you enjoy the reward of your hard work raising children with your wives. So we celebrate you. I celebrate Pastor Bumi Ajay, an amazing father that just gives. But I'm grateful I was able to treat him also to Akuaba, beautiful splash of lunch. So, but anyway, in saying all that, I want to. Our topic today is walking through grief.
Yeah.
Walking through grief. I've taken this topic before, but every time that these griefs happen to somebody that is close to you, it touches you differently. It touches you differently. It doesn't matter who you are or what you are or your beliefs, unless you are a stern. So in our side of Melbourne, we lost quite a number of people these days. That is really, really, really painful and very tragic. But people are like, oh, we're going to move on. Life moves on. Is that the way life moves on? You know, you go and visit the family, the wife of the ones that passed on this side. And while we're there, they will cry and then laugh a bit, smile a bit and cry, you know, and these are, you know, Caucasians. So, and I spoke to some couple of their friends. They say life must move on. She's all right. I don't think she's all right. You go to the corner and talk to these people privately and then they break down totally. So I just don't think people we should just trivialize it, or when people smile when you're there, then they are okay. It doesn't mean they are okay, you know. And grief is something that I have not managed to handle properly, like just quickly. I mean, we don't mourn like the heathens, but it pains you differently. I say that to say a friend of mine also, Kweju Ogumala, she's an actress. She's a veteran. Her husband is a veteran. Her father was one of the stars of Hollywood or Nollywood in Nigeria. And they lost the only son, 24 years old. Kweju would have had that boy when she was over 40 years. The only son, and the boy died, you know, just gone like that. How do you handle grief? I know Lee's greatness. I believe you're healing. Lost your beautiful mother, and I observe you in Namibia, follow through all the process and everything. How are you doing? This is the week to say, how are you okay? How are you doing? Is there a strategy that you use to manage? And later we'll talk about. I want to say something afterwards. How are you doing, Liz? We
You're on
can't
mute.
hear. You're
You're on mute.
muted.
Yeah, this is really very difficult. And I have only come to learn this with the passing of my mother. Literally a year ago, and within the next couple of days, she's gonna have her 85th birthday on the 13th of September. She died. We buried her last year, just before the birthday. In August on the 14th, I think we buried. So just a month before her birthday, we buried her. Um,
Mm.
Talking about it and thinking about it, I must say every day is different,
Mm.
and it comes in, different emotions. Sometimes I'm angry, other times, and most of the times recently, I'm more confused.
Wow.
Um, Sometimes I'm sad, you know. One day I remembered when both the two of us were coming from, we attended something, we took public transport, me and my mother.
Oh,
And
that's sweet. Oh, wow.
I um, after my mom got off the bus, I had to go proceed because I lived 60 kilometers away from where my mom
Oh.
was, our parental home is.
Mm.
When my mother got off the car, or
Mm.
yeah, the minivan, she missed the step
Oh.
and she fell. You have no idea. I remembered that because I wanted to get off. I was like, I can't, let my mom help herself
Mm.
in this instance. I have, even if it means I miss the transport, this is it for me.
Mm. Yeah.
So I wanted to get off the
Train.
van,
The van.
and the guy just took off. I
Ah.
That memory came to me last week. I can't remember the day, and
Oh.
I was crying just
Oh.
because I couldn't get off the the car for my mother. That's it really comes in different ways. I was even thinking, so if somebody asks me why am I crying, and I tell them because my mother fell, off the car, and
Wow.
I remembered that. I was just thinking, narrating that to somebody, and I don't know how many
Mm.
years ago that was. My mom passed
Mm.
last year. I'm crying today about that. You know what I
Wow.
mean? So it's
Wow.
it, it, it's real. It comes in different ways.
Mm.
Um, I guess making meaning of that is probably what's helping. How can I do things differently now from every little thing that I remember, and from everything that she has been to me, how can I probably immortalize that for myself so that it's a constant beautiful memory, and today, even if I cry about that, it still has got something attached to it that says, this is how I can move on. But it's not the same every day. It comes, I remember her stories that she would be sharing with us. We've got some recorded, we put it on our family page, and we laugh about it. There are days like that too, that thinking about her is a beautiful memory that ends in laughter. But
Mm.
the loss, the fact that she's not here anymore, is not something that I process very well. It's
Mm.
still painful, really.
Wow. Wow. I mean, 1 year, it's very fresh, and I say it's fair enough, and I'm sure Professor Mimi also with the law. I, I was gonna say your first love, your father, your
Do you
first
know
love.
yesterday we're talking about my dad? And
Mm.
when was that? I was speaking to some other executives and former prime minister. Now, again, I was talking about my dad, and they happen to know my other uncles and all these other connections. I speak about my dad as if he's still here, but also he passed away 11 years ago, at least, like you. It
Um,
is raw. It is like it is real. And
Wow.
after losing my dad, I used to empathize with people when they lose their parent, right? But
Mm.
after losing my dad, I understand the pain of losing a parent. There is
Yeah.
something different. So when I hear that somebody has lost the parent, I make time, I go and sit with
Mm.
them. Any
Mm.
friend. As
Mm.
I said, I did understand what grief was, or I thought I did until
Mm.
I lost
I love
my dad.
that. Yes.
mhm.
I really did. I thought I did understand. But then there was my what has always consolidated me was that my dad lived to the fullest. And when you understand how he died, healthy man, running, felt unwell in the morning, thought he would have a shower, lie down, and then never woke up. So we have a joke that our dad was so tidy and organized such that he had a shower before going to the mortuary,
Mm.
right? Because he died, he dried himself, still
That's
had a towel,
beautiful.
and just lie down,
Wow.
literally,
Yeah,
because,
that's
to just
beautiful.
rest. He never woke up again.
Mm.
And No. So, but then he was intact because then I watched other people go through pain. They suffered, they struggled, the family members. And you say to yourself, if this heart attack could kill dad and somebody was so vivacious,
Mm.
he would not have liked to live like a vegetable.
Mm.
So there is a type of a consolidation in there in terms
Mm.
of he went peacefully, he lived a very happy life to the extent that my elder sister said, you know, Habit, he enjoyed life and he loved life so much. And he ate and he accepted. That is why he was smiling in the coffin. This is my sister crying at the funeral and said, that looks so good. You can see he's smiling because he
Mm.
accepted all the good deeds that people did for him. He never
Mm.
carried anybody in his heart to the extent that I have the
He never
memorial
did
here.
what? What was that? He never carried anybody in his car, did she say?
Yeah, never. So yes, the reason I have this memorial here, this is his memorial 13 years ago, right? And I was talking about it to some people, but then I read something that his cousin wrote. Pabis was a very dynamic person with special regards to the whole family. He was a uniting factor and sought continuously for the unity of the family throughout his life until the last moment. In fact, the day he died, he had convened a family meeting, but to my greatest dismay, God called him home. Fabrice realized his heart's desire before his death, and I pray that he should be admitted in God's heavenly kingdom until we meet again. And this is my uncle who works at the presidency. This was his testimonial. And the reason I have it was because we were talking about him to somebody, and I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, that's my uncle. Then I went back and read what he had written 13
Mm.
in 2013 about my
Right.
dad. So sometimes these records, I'm sure he won't even remember what he wrote. So I'm gonna take a screenshot and send to him maybe after this. But grief, and I think I did not even think about this topic before we started. So it's not like I prepared this and then I had to
Yeah.
pull it out. I didn't
Mm.
know. But
That's right.
something that is happening here in Melbourne is a killing of young children. And 2 train stops from my house, like 2 suburbs away, 2 young kids, like children, have died at the hands of other children. It is scary, it is disheartening. And when you think about the grief, as you mentioned, your friend's son, this father said there are children and there are children, but he had 4 children. This was his only son.
He
And
said.
this kid was a basketballer. And I think, was it one of the Richmond or one of the basketball groups that he plays with? They put out a statement, and it was heartbreaking to listen to, children coming back from sports, just normal kids, and then they get ambushed by cowards.
Ha. At least send that to me. Hence the topic today. When I'm like, oh, let's change our topic. Let's talk about this. And I said everything about our parents, of course, about my mom and my dad as well. And I still, every now and then, sit down and think and shed my little tears and wipe my face. These are our parents. But killing the kids cold-bloodedly, that is, I don't know, how do you console that
The
sort of
parents.
brutal killing? And I heard the mother saying, we're in this country for a better life. We're in this country for a better life. And this is what happened. And it was, like you said, some of the kids, these sports boys, there's another one here in the West, playing basketball, good boy, good all round. They said he's a science boy that is brilliant, doesn't cause any problem. He was killed at the basketball court. Actually, daggered close, that, machete. We just want to put a word out. If you have a child that is notorious, I mean, the family will have known that they've got these kids that are notorious. Can you please hand them over to the government? This is part of the things that we were discussing at the parliament with Prof the other day, last week as well. How do we arrest these atrocities? These are children that are just doing their own thing. They got brighter future, they got a life to live, and you did this to them. How? My own campaign is every parent or family. I know some people don't have families. They are orphans like me, and they are just, nobody looks after them. If you've got one of them in your neighborhood, maybe try and lend a helping hand. Maybe if they are not lonely and angry with the world and with life, they will stop this issue of killing. We lost our parents, we're still mourning somehow. I know some people say life goes on, but I don't know. It's going on, but we still deal with it anyway, and we're finding a way to get out of. We're not down in the hole, crying and depressed, but we remember, we cry, we do whatever we will have to do when we remember the loss of our loved one. But we're saying the younger ones. How do you explain that? How do you explain that? And that's why, Prof, your policy making and this group, we need to contribute fully to this white paper to make sure they look at it, it's passed down to bill and to law at some stage, because we need to find a way to arrest this atrocity. We cannot continue to. Australia is a good country. It's not where you carry gun and kill people. But these days, they're killing the police officers. What is the thing that is anguishing them, that is making you to do nasty things?
The pain of those children to every parent, a parent should not bury a child. That is
Oh,
the law of nature.
in this
Every
manner.
time I grieve, my father, he had one wish. He did not want to bury any of his children.
And we will not.
So, and he lived and he died without burying any of them. So, as much as we think his life was cut short, somebody
Mm,
being so healthy in his early 70s, he was only 74 when he passed away. But at the same time, the consolidation, but
it
also
didn't
what
have to be
consoles
like.
me is that he never went through the pain of burying any of the children, because
Mm,
he said that is the worst thing. Though I learned that earlier on in life, he had buried, my mom had had a stillbirth. Was before I was born. And I think that
mm,
lived in that all of these other ones that survived birth,
mm.
none of them should be
Yeah.
buried while he's still alive. So to
Mm.
anybody who is attacking a child, you're not supposed to attack anybody to begin
To
with.
the point
But
of
but
ending them.
children, ending a child's life, a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 17-year-old,
Mm.
whatever year old, nobody has a right to take away any life. Today in Victoria, they sentenced the mushroom killer,
Yeah.
triple murderer. That
Yes.
sentence went down today. She is going to spend 33 years minimum in jail. Literally, if she were to
Mm.
ever have parole and get out, it will be, she'll
You'll
be
be
in her
70
80s or
something.
something. She'll be in
Yeah.
her 80s. So when you
82.
think about that, and I think I mentioned this to you recently, I met a young man.
Mm.
I was in a meeting, but then this person was introduced to me. And then I wanted to get to know him. And then he started talking about issues to me. And one of the things that came to his mind was, as he speaks, his friend is facing,
Yeah.
20, 30 years in jail. And I'm like, I was taken aback.
You told me.
And I remember, yeah, I was taken aback because I'm
Yeah.
seeing this normal human say, exactly, this guy snapped and killed his wife.
His wife.
Yeah.
Ha. Hey, Lord Jesus, have mercy.
So I asked the other doctor I was sitting with, and I'm like, I don't know where this thing. It's like Mimi. I said, am I living under the water or under the stone?
Mm.
But the things that are happening in our society, things are
Hmm.
different from what we used to know.
Mm,
So
Mm.
it doesn't matter how difficult, you don't need to take
yeah.
anybody's life. Nobody, none of us have a right to do that to anybody.
To anybody. To anybody. Really.
Can I say something to me with regards to what you can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. It's a very emotional topic. I'm actually losing my voice as I'm talking to you guys, really.
Mm,
But Timmy, you were saying if you have children like this, hand them over. And I want to echo that, adding that up to now, I've been listening to the news. The police have not yet apprehended these boys who have
oh,
killed these two boys last night. And it's impossible that within the community we don't know where these boys are.
ha,
So I want to echo and say if there is anyone who knows where these boys are, who have done this horrific killing, let's stand together as community. At
yeah,
least point that out to the authorities.
yes,
Even if you are not the one who is, bringing the child to say my child is,
mm,
this horrific or whatsoever,
mm,
but at least if you know, share the knowledge so
yes,
that by so doing we do our part within the
mm,
community to
yeah,
keep our communities
mm,
safe, to contribute towards the safety within our communities. We cannot hide
mm,
such information knowing this my son or this my nephew has done such a
yeah,
horrific deed.
yes.
Seriously.
Even me, your voice is. I'm just tired. I'm weak. I'm really
Yeah,
weak because this
it's
is
difficult.
horrible. This is horrible, and my fear also. Let's just go there. My fear is the family of the kids that were killed like this. Some of them might get angry and also start to kill somebody,
Yeah.
the younger ones, or these kids, these little African kids. Some of the kids are really angry that now it's just going to be like a ripple effect, so we need to nip it on the head. Some parents, I know, they frustrated, they lost control of their children, but they need to help the government, help the police as well, hand them over. If it's to rehabilitate them or to do something. Some of them are pained. They've got some issue why they're doing what they're doing. Can we help them to help us and to help the community? My heart goes to the parents that lost the children. I don't know how to console you, but I know that God will console you. Only God will console you. We pray that those things will stop in our community, in Australian community. This country is a good country. We don't want to make it a bad country where killers are perpetuating all this nasty attitude. And for my friend Peju Ogumola, at some stage I'll find the time to talk to you. If by any chance anybody hears us speak here and to be able to tell her, I just pray that this is not going to break you. This is not going to break you. They preach, and a lot of time is sounding like cliche that God makes and God takes. May we not die any premature death or lose any of our children to any malicious activity, I pray. That's all I'm going to pray. And to all of us orphans and all of us that's lost one parent or the other, may we keep helping ourselves and keep championing each other. Like what Mimi said, I think about my mother, and sometimes I laugh and I cry and laugh at the same time sometimes, because even though she lived a quality life, she lived a brilliant life, I still felt it was short. I still want her to be here. I look after 80, 90-year-old people in the nursing home and they are still doing well. So, but all the lives that they did not live, may we live it and live it fully. I pray. That's all.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Miss
Yes,
Greatness.
I want to ask Dr. Professor Mimi, and it's really just a thought, in line of what we were saying, that um, somebody particularly the kids, in processing their grief, of which they don't know how to process. And because of that, it can become a retaliation. It can show in ways that, becomes a double jeopardy.
Yeah.
Um, does this call for an opportunity where we take the grief training to their level, even before they've lost somebody, or should we leave it up to the circumstances to train the kids as to how to deal with it, of which it could be too late? What do you make of that?
Grief is a very complex thing,
Yeah.
and how everybody deals with grief is different. I
Mm.
still grieve my father.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He passed away in 2013. We're in 2025. So that's when. So September 26 or so is going to make it 12 years. So
Yeah.
the September 24th. So when you think about it, we have to start thinking about the underlying causes. Like, I turn around, I grieve, but I've got something that,
Yeah.
what, this man raised these children. He did this. With
Mm.
children, it's very different because you don't even understand what is going on through their minds.
Mm,
Okay, in the
exactly.
African settings generally, kids are exposed most often than not to death and dying because of the way the communal interconnect is high, high density type, not high density living, but how society is structured in such
Yeah.
a way that people interact so they understand. And when there's a funeral, the community presence, there is a type of of exposure when it comes to death and dying. In
Mm-hmm.
Australia, you could grow up and you don't have any exposure to that
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
most often than not, you don't have extended family. But then, most often than not, when you hear about death, they tend to be this tragic. And the African emerging communities are a younger community. So, yes, we've experienced some losses within the community and we continue to, but comparatively, somebody getting old and dying of old age, which is where some of us are all heading to in terms of becoming geriatric orphans, right? So I
Mm.
think, first of all, we need to think about, the whole process of grieving. But at the same time, we need to also think about what are the underlying issues
Yeah.
that
That's the
these
problem.
children are facing that are
Mm-hmm.
leading to these killings, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Because we need to look at the upstream and what is happening there in order, because if we want to just fix things downstream, we're going to continuously have this killing. So
Mm.
I give an example, and I'm looking at our time.
Mm.
A lot of of these kids, right? They have one or both parents. Most often are not living overseas,
Mm.
right? The kids are here,
Yeah.
and the parents who are here are not professionally fulfilled, so they've not self-actualized as well. So
Mm.
there is a lot of trauma with them. But when the parents now then leave and go to stay in their home country for 3 months or 6 months, sometimes even longer, some come back to impregnate the woman so that she
Mm.
cannot have another person and then the next child. So you find that there is this
Mm.
there's this huge
Mm. Mm. It's
void
like mm.
within the whole setup at the
Mm-hmm.
personal level, at the first family level, but also at a community level. And I
Mm.
think we need to just go back and revisit
Mm.
the void, but also the underlying issues. And then once we work with the policymakers, but that has to come and be driven at the grassroots levels by the
Mm.
communities.
That's right.
Until we do that, we're going to be dealing with the same issue. So it is
Mm.
something that is complex, it is complicated, but that said, we need to a united Afrocentric approach, which I continuously call for to address some of these issues. It
Yeah.
is
Mm.
communal approach.
Yeah. It is. And equally, we need to start talking more. A lot of times we don't talk. We're just quiet.
Yeah.
It could be cultural thing. It's very, very dangerous. And some of us are not open also to help. You're not open. When you call a meeting and say, let's talk about this, people don't talk or they don't show up. They just go when there's a party. But when you're talking about something very important that is very meaningful to our lives and our future, they're not going to come. So that's
Mm,
why when we were talking at the colloquium, I mentioned that really there's no point this community are talking and they are doing good, the other community are not doing good. Eventually, it's going to rub off all of us and it's going to affect everybody. So I think it's about time, like you said clearly, in a communal level, to start to talk, be honest. If you lost grip of your children and you don't know how to handle them, share it, ask for help. And what you said about the underlying factor, if they get help, that as a therapist, you probe into it, you just work with them and they'll be able to open up, because sometimes some of the issues are dead in their hearts and they don't even know how to perform it. They don't know how to put it together. You have to get them to a stage that they will realize themselves. And that is why they are doing what they're doing, because it looks as if they are numb to themselves. They are actually not reasoning properly because they don't know what it is, the problem is and how to manage it. But this is a lot of things. It's just that, like you said, it's a very sensitive issue. It's a very deep issue, but I think
mm,
we should keep talking about it. For me, the more I hear you and I hear the other person, I get better. I pray about it, and then I think about, that man that just slept and just, dressed himself out. We laugh again. Think about Lisa's, now thinking about not being able to help the mom. Wow. Wow. Liz, if you could, you would have. And
mm.
after that, Mama lived very long after that. She did not die from the fall. So it's just the emotion that is just going
Yeah.
out. You want to be Mama's mama. Let me help my mom. Let me cuddle my mother. It's so sweet. But may their soul continue to rest in perfect peace.
Mm.
And your
That's what
parents too.
I'm a beautiful parent. I know. Thank you so very much. We're going to say goodbye for now. And next week, our topic next week, we already got the topic, is when it's related to this as well. So it's when somebody gives your parents a pearl or precious gem and then they pass on. Do you give it back? And particularly, do you return it to the person, or if the person comes back, is there a thing like that? Has that happened to you? But I've got a story around that personally, which I think is going to be fun next week. Professor Mimi, you're hearing that? Yes. We'll talk
I
more.
heard you. That's a good one.
I think it's a good one.
When you give a gift, it belongs to that person. What they do with it is their business.
But I've got another opinion which I will share next week, and you can laugh at me, you can do, but I've got something. So
I
till
can
then,
wait.
we say bye bye for now. Thank you,
All
everybody.
right. Good. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too. Bye.